We got a treat tonight, Jay. We're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, the only theoretical physicist that I can say that's probably the smartest man that I can remember looking at back on history. Because I go hard on theoretical physicists, right, Jay? What do I normally call them?
Nerds. I don't know. Charlatans.
Grifters.
I don't know.
Carpetbaggers.
Grifters.
You know what I'm
Whatever
saying? Con men. You name it, man. That's what I call them.
Whatever
Bro.
you want to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Professional con men.
Exactly, man. Go watch any of our bodies of work, and you'll see me go hard on theoretical physicists pretty hard. And Albert Einstein is probably the, if not the biggest grifter out of all of them.
Oh no, here we go.
But I'll tell you, there is one man in there who I have actually tried to go hard on. That sounds weird when I say that, but it failed every time.
Gotta watch that phrasing, sir.
This guy is actually a legitimate genius. 80% of the technology that we use currently in the world today stems from his research. And his name is Nikola Tesla. And so at that point, you got to say that he's moved beyond theoretical physics to practical application, right, Jay?
Yeah, he was an electrical engineer, essentially, like the first kind of full-on electrical engineer / architect, if you will, right? Understood it at this weird kind of base level, right?
Yeah, so. One of the problems that I have. First of all, welcome to Enigma Cast Nerds. Jay, introduce yourself.
I'm Uncle Jay from Uncle Jay's Urban Legends, amongst other things. I'm also on 11 Dog Media and pretty much everywhere.
But he's also
a writer.
Jay writes books.
I write books.
Jay writes books.
Jay writes books.
Right. Jay has his own Instagram up. Jay, plug yourself there. Go give him a follow.
Yeah, it's all in my link tree.
In his link tray, absolutely. It'll be in the description of the video.
There's all kinds of different links there. There's a link to the book that I wrote a couple of years ago. The new series should be coming out fairly soon. I'm in the editing process there.
Nice. All right. You good with that, Jay? You feel like you dominated the conversation enough, man? Can
totally.
Get back to
It's all about me.
It's all about Jay. It's all about Jay. Anyways, enough of that, nerds. Go give Jay a follow. Now let's get into the meat of this. Nikola Tesla, Jay, you hit it on the head about what you said, that this guy actually had a for lack of a better word, I don't like using this word, but it's a gift. He had a gift of being able to take theoretical physics and literally turning it into a practical application. And he is undefeated. Everything that he ever did is better than what the other people were doing. And we will get into that not only did he go to war with J.P. Morgan, but he also went to war with Thomas Edison. And he was right and they were wrong. So before we do all that, nerds, you know how we do around here. Me and my boy over here, we dig into things we see what the history will tell you, then we'll tell you what really happened to go down on it, and we'll debunk some things along the way, and we'll give you some nuggets of truth that you can't even really make it up. Before we do that, Jay, give us this guy's bio, Jay. Run him down. Who he is for the people who don't know about who Nikola Tesla is.
So, I figure everybody kind of has a little bit idea who Nikola Tesla is.
You'd be surprised.
He was born in 1856 in what would be Croatia now, but what was back then the Austrian Empire. He studied engineering at the Technical University of Graz and philosophy at the University of Prague. Studied engineering at the Technical University of Graz, and then he also studied philosophy at the University of Prague, which I found interesting, right? Because, not a lot of theoretical physicists or electrical engineers also study philosophy.
Yeah. And so here comes your
pretty cool.
Before you go any further, here's your first fun 2 facts, Enigmites. He was born dirt poor. I think it's going to sound weird, but I really think that his mother was a turnip farmer. And the day that he was born, you can go look it up, was one of the worst recorded lightning storms in history, since they were keeping track of that stuff. So, and that's who he is. And Jay, anything else about his early life?
His biggest claim to fame is alternating current, right? Mm-hmm. Basically, the in the early days of electricity, it was all direct current, right? So it was just, straight to the thing. And the transmission of that is difficult. So the power generation facilities couldn't be too far from the cities. What alternating current did is it allowed the transmission lines to be a lot longer.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's where you get the term Enigmite's AC/DC. It used to be back in the day as direct current. And direct current is you'd have to have a power station literally every mile. You would have to have another power station for it to work. And they were actually planning on building a power station every mile as they go. He shows up on the scene and says, no, there's a better way to do this. It's called AC/DC, which is alternating current / direct current, where it basically moves back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's still the method in which we transmit electricity now through copper wires. However, he did that in his pastime because he went on to prove some things that I'm going to get into. We're going to dive right into this. Before Nikola Tesla went to war with a billionaire or upcoming hack named
JP Morgan.
No, we'll do Edison. We'll do Morgan first. Okay,
do Edison first.
Yeah, we'll do Morgan first. So before he took on Edison, he took on this other guy named JP Morgan. And JP Morgan, if you don't know who he is considered to be, I don't know how we do everything around here. He's considered to be one of the 12 families of the Illuminati, and his area is with the Rockefellers was here in the United States of America. He was on Jekyll Isle the day they thought up the treasury, the national treasury, the bank. He also was really good friends with the Rothschilds, and you're going to think this is wild, but J.P. Morgan actually had a lot to do with what went down in Tombstone with Wyatt Earp and the shootout, stuff like that, because he was tasked to finish the railways and the violence that was taking place out there with Wyatt Earp and these guys. He's the one who paid the Pinkertons to go out there and kill Billy the Kid and all this other stuff. He is a very serious sociopath. He is extremely satanic, Freemason as well. And for his reward, he was basically given one of the people who was giving the monopoly of the United States of America. And he discovered a young Nikola Tesla. And Nikola Tesla convinced him, he's the one who, he convinced JP Morgan that AC/DC was the way to go. And JP Morgan, because he figured out that it saved money, he went all in. And during that process, Nikola Tesla asked JP Morgan for a grant to do some research on what he called a Tesla coil, but not telling JP Morgan what that really was. What the Tesla coil is, Jay, is what? Paying attention?
Tesla coil. I am paying attention, but I mean, you're putting me on the spot to explain what a Tesla coil is, and I'm not 100% sure.
It's free energy. It's free energy. What a Tesla coil does is it pulls the energy from the ionosphere and spread it out. And so he told JP Morgan, he didn't tell JP Morgan what it was for. He just says, hey, I want to work on this thing I'm working on. It's a Tesla coil. So JP Morgan gave him a lot of money to do it. And he started building it. And you can actually find the remnants of his coil. I can't remember the exact name where it is, but it's in somewhere up in Northeast America, up in Massachusetts. And you can still
It's in Wardenclyffe, New Jersey.
Wardenclyffe, New Jersey, right?
Long Island. Built between 1901 and 1902 in Shoreham, Long Island.
Yeah. And so he was building this. And in the middle of building it, it wasn't theoretical for Nikola Tesla. He already knew that it was going to work. He was so convinced that it worked, this is where he made his first mistake. He actually went to a state fair and demonstrated that free energy worked because he lit up 500 light bulbs, just stuck them in the ground, and the light bulbs turned on, and people were fascinated by it, right? He completed the coil. It was massive. It was bigger than a water tower. It was way up in the air, right? And in his
187 foot transmitter tower with a 55-ton steel dome.
Yeah, right. And so he was ready to present this to JP Morgan, and then he was going to ask JP Morgan for more money to station these on what a lot of people would say are ley lines around the United States of America and give everybody free energy. He was very excited about it, actually. And so JP Morgan went up there and he showed JP Morgan what it could do. And JP Morgan asked him this question: okay, if we're distributing the energy, where do I put the meters to charge people? And that's when Nikola Tesla told him, no, this is the best part. It's free for everybody.
Right. This is the free wireless power.
Free wireless power. And JP Morgan did what most sociopathic, narcissistic, monopolizing billionaires did. Jay, and what'd he do?
Killed it.
Cut the funding, told him he was fired, I never want to see again, tried to have him killed. Right. So that was exactly what JP Morgan did. Right. Unbelievable. Right. And so Jay and I did a podcast 2 weeks ago talking about the discoveries underneath the pyramids out in, Egypt. Jay, give us the clip notes on that for people who missed that episode and have been living under a rock.
Basically, they used a new form of tomography to see satellite tomography. To see giant, massive pillars and chambers underneath the pyramids at Giza.
Yep.
And I theorized that it was part of the whole idea. Like they say that, like that makes it theoretically viable that they were actually power plants.
Exactly, 100%.
Because of where the Nile River is, and where the water table is, and how it's built, and like it's just.
And so today, recently we were going to do a new topic, but today or yesterday I hit Jay up. I said I wanted to talk about this because a discovery came out yesterday where they are saying that they think now that they are about to release some evidence. And I said it on the last podcast. They know where 4 more of these already are. In the coming months, they're going to release them. That these were Tesla towers, that these pyramids were shooting electricity into the ionosphere, creating an electric charge, basically free energy all over the planet, right? And so that's amazing. I'm stunned by all this.
I didn't quite get there with my research, but like HAARP. Right.
Yeah. So that's right where I was taking this. Right. And right after Nikola Tesla was fired, JP Morgan took his funding, ran him out of New Jersey, tried to have him killed. He made a quote saying one of his assistants, Nikola Tesla was a genius, and all geniuses are a little bit off.
A little bit off. Oh, yeah.
Like
we've talked about him before.
I'm not pointing fingers.
You're pointing in the direction that I'm
not pointing fingers. He looked at his assistant, and his assistant thought he would be devastated. And he said with a calm face, he may have won the day, but I will win history. It's literally what he said. And dang, boy, spot on. Is this guy literally being proven,
winning history?
Being history, right? And before I get into HAARP, I'm going to take you to a step further. This guy, right after this happened, he said to himself, well, I'll just have to go out and raise the money myself. And he went out and saw that another guy named Thomas Edison was having trouble creating these light bulbs, right? And stuff like that, right? So he created him literally a new type of light bulb that we use today. If you look at the high efficiency energy light bulbs with the 2 prongs instead of the 1 prong, Nikola Tesla invented that. Edison turned on him. So he said, well, I'll just use another one of my inventions called remote control. He actually was the first one to make remote controls, right? And so, yeah, he was in that, right? And again,
he had a remote control boat.
A remote control boat.
Back in...
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like it was the early 1900s, so that was just kind of like unheard of. Right?
He created the remote control, and he also, people don't believe this, he's the one that actually invented the radio. Another guy took credit for it, but
it was that was one of the probably the best examples of like parallel development, right? Because then you had Marconi's radio transmission technology, and it was like parallel development, right? They both kind of came up with it at the same time.
So now, having said that, I'm gonna prop this guy up a little bit here as well. Most geniuses, I'm being very honest when I say this, right? Most geniuses, I'm talking about a legitimate genius, you know what I'm saying? They either have a flash of glory and they phase out, or they never see anything they work on ever come to fruition, right? And I can give you an example of one of the good examples is Bobby Fischer was a famous chess player. He was extremely, extremely intelligent, probably the best chess player that ever lived. And he's damn near clinically insane right now, right? Like he had his flash, and then he just basically, it's called the Grandmaster curse. Most grandmasters of chess usually end up going into a form of psychosis that can never be broken. Most people come up and say, hey, look, you know, this is how this will work, A, B, C, and D, and they never see it come to pass ever in their lifetime. This guy never missed. I just rattled off 4 or 5 things that he did that in his lifetime was proven right? And
not only that, but then there were some other additional things that, like the Tesla turbine that he invented, was like far enough ahead of its time that the material science wasn't good enough to be able to fully kind of realize what this thing was capable of.
Yes.
Because it would shake itself. It would spin so fast, it would just spin itself apart.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. So like he never missed. Everything this guy said and everything this guy did was a hit. And to the point of it, if he would have been just a little bit ruthless or had guys like me in his circle, one of those things would have made him a bazillionaire, right? And he would have been able to do everything. But he was too nice. He was really too nice. He didn't fight back.
Well, I mean,
he just moved on.
That was the thing. Like, he's a European immigrant.
Yeah.
Right. You know, English probably isn't his first language. He's got to negotiate. He's expecting these American scientists to follow kind of like that scientist code, right? Of, you know, we're all in this together kind of deal. And you know, these guys were just greedy.
No, they were ruthless.
Like Edison was greedy as fuck. Like, you know, it's just greedy men.
Yeah, they stole it.
Came down to.
Yeah, they stole his stuff. They were just terrible people. And
there was a lot of that going around at the time, though.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. It was the wild, wild west when it came to that stuff. Yeah, sorry, I had a little technical difficulty there, but yeah. So basically, what I was saying is that he was naively thinking that these people would get behind him. But one of the things that makes me so fascinated about this guy is there's a famous picture of him sitting inside beside a Tesla coil in a metal room with this electricity arcing over his head, right? And people knew who Nikola Tesla was, and they would ask him, hey, why are you so confident with this stuff? Why do you always, why are you, so things going on? And he had told them that he had gotten radio signals from outer space that was telling him how to do these things, right? And he also was really big on these numbers, 3, 6, and 9. He always used to tell them, hey, look, if you ever decode the meaning of the numbers 3, 6, and 9, you'll have decoded the mysteries of the universe, right? So this dude, and again, there's a famous quote out there that they try to hush up. Like I said, Albert Einstein was highly propped up because he was very charismatic, right? People liked talking to him. He went to parties. He was a womanizer, and he was a drinker. So he would make the rounds. So everybody, hyped him up as being, the smartest ever. They asked him a question one time. They was like, hey, Albert, what's the smartest physicists on the planet have to say about this. And with a straight face, he goes, I don't know. You need to go ask Nikola Tesla. So Albert Einstein, would tell you that Nikola Tesla was a legitimate, the real deal. Now, I'm not saying Albert Einstein wasn't smart. I'm not saying that. But he's not the greatest. Tesla's the greatest, right? You don't use one thing right now ever that's in your house that's got Albert Einstein's name written on it, right? And again, his greatest theory can't be proven. And this is another thing too, right, Jay? I know.
It's pretty solid, bro.
No, the gravity's a lie. This is where
relativity is pretty.
So Nikola Tesla.
Pretty solid.
Nikola Tesla will tell you his theory is that gravity's not real. Vibrations keep us on the earth. Everything has a vibration to it. And all these other scientists would say, no, gravity's real, the theory of relativity, gravity's their God, and they can't prove it, right? They can't prove it, right? And also, if you want to know what we're going to shift gears to next, is if you want to know why this guy was the greatest of all time and still is because actually what happened to this dude after he died. Now, Jay, break it down, man. What went down with my man when he passed away?
So Tesla kind of went a little bit mad there at the end.
As we all do.
At an apartment. I believe it was like a hotel room in
Manhattan,
in New York City, right? And where he kept his pigeons. Mm-hmm. And they basically boxed everything up.
First of all,
to examine it.
First of all, I just got that insult about my man and pigeons. All right, show some respect, bro. Show some respect to my man. Enigma, if you didn't know that was a shot. Man. That was a shot at me because Nikola Tesla.
It's not a shot, but like it just goes to illustrate, right, your point that
supposedly
genius and madness are close friends, if not, bosom buddies.
Nikola Tesla fell in love with a pigeon. That's what the rumor says. I think it's fake news. They just want to discredit my boys. But he also could not be in a room with a woman wearing earrings. But who can't, right? Who couldn't? Who can't, right? Yeah. Show some humility, ladies.
No idea.
Yeah.
So they boxed all this stuff up, and there's been a lot of controversy, right? Like, from my understanding, most of it now is back in Croatia, kind of like at the Birthplace Museum or whatever facility they have there for him.
Yeah.
But like, there's always been kind of like that hullabaloo about. He used to talk about death rates and shit like that.
Yeah, he did.
Right? Like, so, I mean, the guy was super, super smart. Mm-hmm. He could visualize things like no one else could. Mm-hmm. Like, he could see the whole intricate thing in his head before, like, putting a pen to paper, right? Mm-hmm. Conceptualize it in his brain before, like, diagramming any of it out.
Yeah.
And he had a really good mind for figuring out the practical applications from the thing that he saw in his head.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, I know how this works. Hey, I know. Like, these are basic kind of things. Like, a vortex is a vortex is a vortex, right? Yeah. They're powerful regardless of where they're at or what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Creating one, will be a force multiplier.
And he was also very good at being able to, I don't want to use the word chronological, but like he in his mind, he could walk through A to Z. It wasn't a struggle. It wasn't a struggle for him to it wouldn't take him a whole life. Most people work a whole lifetime on one breakthrough thing. This guy was doing it at will. 2 and 3 at a time. Yeah, exactly. Right. And right before he died, 2 or 3 days before he died. And this is why I tell you that Nikola Tesla was legitimately a legitimate dude. He was under constant FBI surveillance.
You had a guy who basically understood electricity well enough that he created the Tesla coil. It was just that thing in and of itself, like it's so intimidating looking.
Yeah. And
right.
He would sit right next to it. This
And he
electricity
would
was
sit in the. It was like all
yeah,
lightning's crashing around him, and like
yeah,
because he knew how it worked. Like he understood it at kind of a fundamental level, and that I mean that's scary
yeah.
to people who don't, right?
Oh yeah, and so another thing he did too, he didn't do himself any favors. Is 3 days before he died, Tesla also was working on another weapon where he postulated that since he was going to prove that everything on this earth is vibration tuned, he created a weapon that he could hold up next to a, whatever, and if he dialed in the vibration, the object would disintegrate. Well, his building started to shake violently one day, and the FBI agents had to run up there, and when they kicked the door in, he was taking an axe to the machine. It was about to bring the building down. He was literally on accident about to collapse this building. I do not think, though, that some people, some rabbit holes will say that, they killed him 3 days later because that, I don't think he was fairly old in his age, and he
wasn't.
Yeah, he was 100% worth more to them alive. You let this guy cook, man. Like he was legit, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So now,
yeah, he was
86, Jay.
86.
86, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost
86.
like I'm a Tesla fan. Almost like that, right?
Almost. Yeah, no, I mean 86. So, like, you think about it, coming from a long line of people who have gone mad.
Yeah.
Later on in life.
Yeah.
That's about when it happens, bro.
Yeah, it's a good age, man.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I know from experience it started at about 80 with most of them.
Right.
And they lasted about 6 years after that. And then that was it. It was over. So that tracks. Like if I have a theory about people who burn the candle at both ends.
Right.
Right?
Let's hear it.
When you think that hard, your brain gets tired.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, firm believer.
Right? Like, I think he burned really, really bright.
There's no doubt.
And at the end, when you burn that bright at the end, I think it like kind of just winks out fast.
And also too, man, he was so smart. People thought he was an alien. I mean, like they literally thought this guy was an alien, man. But he was that smart. But even what interests me in these type of stories is that the truth is often stranger than fiction, because after all we just told you, that ain't even the weird part, right? So after he died, they raided him. They took up all of his work. And Jay, who did they give it to?
Yeah.
They gave it to...
I think his name was John Trump, wasn't it?
His name was John Trump, man. He was actually... Donald Trump's uncle was an MIT professor. They took all of Nikola Tesla's work to John Trump, asked him to look at it. They were interested in 3 things in particular. Surprisingly, they weren't very interested in the free energy. They wanted to know what he was working on the following 3 things. 1, his death rate. They're very interested in his death rate that he was talking about, right? 2, time travel. 3, Nikola Tesla had a working model of teleportation. Believe it or not, modern day beam me up Star Trek stuff that he had working on. And the report came back from John Trump that, shocker, there was nothing here worth looking at, and it supposedly went away. However, for the longest time, a lot of that stuff was what, Jay? Redacted, locked up, classified. So for a whole bunch of nothing,
it says the official statement is, after a 3-day investigation, Trump reported that none of the materials would have significant value to this country nor would they constitute a hazard in unfriendly hands. He concluded that Tesla's late career projects were primarily promotional, writing that they did not include new sound, workable principles, or methods. In other words, the things he was doing at the end of his life was crazy talk.
Crazy talk. And
but were they though?
Were they though?
Like, or was he just kind of like right before the candle went out? Was he like burning real hard and coming up with some interesting stuff? Right?
So let's go down that. Let's go down that road, Jay. So out of the two of the three things that Trump turned over, he turned over the teleportation and the death ray. However, he kept, for reasons for posterity or nostalgia, he kept the time travel stuff on his own because they thought that was the biggest laugh of it all. Okay, so before we get into that, Jay, what could the government of the United States of America possibly do with a whack job theory about a death ray, Jay, that could shoot electricity bazillion trillions of miles away on a flat Earth?
On a flat Earth.
On a flat Earth, Jay.
We're gonna arc the electricity across the coin.
Right, exactly. So Jay,
and we're gonna break the ice wall.
What exactly? And let in the trogs. So Jay, what they took that technology and did what with it, Jay? They scrap it?
I have no idea, dude.
Nope.
None of these people.
What they did was they took it, said it was nothing, and then they went out to Alaska and built it and then renamed it into what they call
HAARP.
They call HAARP, right? So they turned Nikola Tesla's death ray into modern day HAARP, right?
Gotcha.
And if you do not believe that we have the ability to manipulate weather, then I will stop. I'm trying to work on things differently in 2025, where I used to say things like this: "You're stupid." I'm not saying that anymore.
No.
I'm going to say, "You're not smart," because it doesn't hurt as bad when I say, "You're stupid."
Really?
And if I say the terms with all due respect, "You're not smart," then it's pretty much a free pass. Because the moment they filed the patents with DARPA out in Alaska to build these HAARP facilities, they started having meetings with the UN and Russia and other nations who tried to ban the weaponization of the weather. So, and there's an article here
which I think is valid, because we shouldn't weaponize the weather.
We should
Bad
not.
Idea.
We should not even
We should not mess with
it. We should not even for 1 second have the hubris to think that we could control this.
No,
right?
Should not do that.
And if you want to go here, Enigma, here's your homework. Go on Google, type in "We will own the weather by 2025," and you'll see a paper written by DARPA for the United States government, written in 1984, talking about how by 2025 we will own the weather. So then let's leapfrog on that, because that's just hooky pooky talk, man. People tell me all the time, that means the earth is flat because you can't shoot a laser from here to Japan.
Oh my God, dude.
Sure. So, but what they did do is that yesterday on X, Trump made a comment talking about how powerful the United States of America is. You don't know how powerful we are. We have weapons that you can't even imagine. And there was a tragic airplane incident that took place 4 or 5 years ago. I think it was called Malaysian flight MH370, where they have footage of what appears to be 3 pyramid objects circling this airplane before it just vanishes and disappears. And some people will try to tell you that it was actually teleported to Diego Garcia. Now, who watching this podcast, or who know that spent a year in Diego Garcia? Raise your hand. Yeah, it was me, right? Been there for 1 year.
Yeah, right. Did you see anything teleport in?
I never saw anything teleport in, but I will say that on that island, I had some weird things happen, and I will tell you, and you will get a kick out of it. It's time for Uncle JC stories.
Uncle JC stores.
Diego Garcia has the third longest runway on the planet. It used to be the tertiary landing site for the space shuttle. And if you cannot land an airplane on Diego Garcia, you suck. You can't land an airplane. You just can't be done, man. And if I told you I saw a plane roll off the end of the runway into the ocean, it happened. And that's sometimes the Navy way of getting it done. Now, I have had a few things happen to me strange on Diego Garcia. If you go watch my podcast, that I actually did wake up in my bedroom in Diego Garcia, and there was it was my 1-year anniversary. On the show, there was a gray alien standing there. In there, I've talked about it on my podcast. And my friends have made fun of me for years on that. This guy's heard the story. My friends have heard it before. On Diego Garcia, in your off time, there's 3 things to do: drink, play sports, and work out. That's basically what they were doing. And it's dark as can be out there. And one night I was walking to my barracks. I lived in barracks 14. I was on the softball fields, and there's a little burger shack along the way called Donkey Burger. I was walking back from the softball field.
Is it really called Donkey Burger?
It's really called Donkey Burger, man. Yes, I'm telling you, man. Diego Garcia was pretty fun, man. It's called Donkey Burgers. I was gonna walk by Donkey Burgers, get a burger, go back to my room, and just hang out. And as I was walking along the tree line, a Navy SEAL stepped out of the tree line and asked me if me and my boys would like to play a softball game with him and his boys that just so happened to be on that island. And to say that I was a little bit startled was an understatement. Right? And
should have worn the yellow pants.
Yes, that's right. So I said, yeah. I said, yeah, man. Jay and I were cryptologists, and so like, I had no idea that there was a SEAL team on the island at that time. They were just there for reasons, right? And so I was like, yeah, man, no problem, man. We'll when do you want to do it? So then one other time, I was riding my bicycle at night, going down the side of the road. And there's no cars on Diego Garcia. There's a few vans that we use to run around. You can actually get what they call a BUI, biking under the influence, will get you in trouble on Diego Garcia. I wasn't drinking. I was riding my bicycle. It was late at night, going down the road on Diego Garcia. And not going to lie, man, 4 SUVs blew past the road. And I thought it was strange because they were black SUVs and we all had white service vans. That was all we had on there and nobody else. And when I say they were doing about 90 miles an hour going down the road was what they was doing. And I have to say, Jay, I didn't ask any questions, man. I was just head on back to my room and I thought that was weird. So yes, weird stuff goes on Diego Garcia. Did I witness any? Yeah, I didn't see any planes appear. Kinda. But I don't want to play devil's advocate. But I will say this, that if you wanted to disappear somebody, Diego Garcia would disappear you, bro. There's 9 ways from Sunday to die in the ocean alone out there. And
yeah, and I mean, it's out in the middle of nowhere, bro.
Yeah, you wouldn't go to it, right? So anyways, so that was the teleportation technology that was supposedly a big nothing research paper given to the United States of America. And my third and the most unbelievable theory of them all, it actually is, and I would say gives conspiracy theorists a bad name a little bit, is that Donald Trump is a time traveler conspiracy theory that goes on, right? And the rumor has it. Oh my God, dude. Have you heard this theory?
No, but I don't really want to.
So evidently, man, there's this book that you can go online and look at, and it's called The Adventures of Baron Trump, right? And if you look at it was written like, I don't know, in the 1800s. If you look at it, it looks like young Baron Trump, right? And the theory is that John Tudor gave this information to Donald Trump, who was a millionaire, multimillionaire, billionaire in New York City. And with his nephew's funding, they actually built it. And it is very strange, man. It is very odd that this guy would later go on to become who he is and what he is, two-time president of the United States, and he is the second most popular man on the planet, right behind Jesus Christ. Right. So,
who is
Trump? Everybody knows who Trump is, man. Everybody knows who he is.
Popular. There's difference between popular.
Most recognized. I'm not talking about like fan wise. I'm talking about like the most recognized man on the planet is Donald Trump. Right? Love him or hate him.
People can be hated and recognized as well.
Love him or hate him, you know who he is. Love him or hate him, you know who the guy is, man.
Regrettably, we all know now.
So, this guy over here, this guy. Anyway, so that right there is the most incredible life story of like Forrest Gump's got nothing on Nikola Tesla, bro. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, he it's the accomplishments, like,
oh my gosh,
just the constant innovation, and he came up with stuff that the thing that I find the most impressive is he came up with things, true inventions, things that worked, that were functional, that were so far ahead of their time we didn't even have the material science to build them the correct way.
Yeah. And
right? Like the Tesla turbine in and of itself is my favorite, just because of the simplicity of it, the efficiency of it, just it's tight engineering at its best, right?
Yeah.
And it hasn't even ever really been tested to its full extent, because up until recently we didn't have the material science to build it in such a way that it would actually stand up to its full capacity.
Yeah. And I want you to look up how many Nobel Prizes this guy's won. It's going to be a 0.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
It's going to be a 0. And 80% of the stuff that we use today, he's created. And this is where I'm starting to believe that everything if our news is a lie, imagine how big of a lie that our history is. And you don't have to look any further, in my opinion, than Nikola Tesla on how much of a lie our history is because not only do they refuse to acknowledge any of his contributions. Elon Musk does a lot. Elon Musk, gives him a lot of credit. I mean, Elon has his flaws, but he does have literally the number one electric car on the planet is named after this guy, Tesla, right? And the thing that bothers me the most is that I know to this day they studied this guy's work. I know they do. These people aren't stupid. So the clowns that we see, I call them clowns. These clowns that go on Joe Rogan and talk about this, that, and the other, who have never accomplished anything. 97% of theoretical physicist theories have not been proven. They always say, "Oh, in 60 years they'll prove it." No, they won't, because it's trash, right?
Well, that's what the experimental physicists do.
Yeah, both. It's all trash.
They make the experiments.
Yeah. Oh, what a perfect world, Jay. I'll think of something stupid and give you 100 years to see it, prove it if it's wrong or not. It's a total grift. But I know that the real smart people, they're studying his stuff, man. I know they are. These people are not. I don't want this video to get taken down. So I got to be real careful. I got to word this carefully.
There are things probably in there and ideas that were ahead of their time when they found them.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, like, I don't know that there's a lot of there anymore.
So
right, like we figured out a lot of the things that he was talking about, and like wireless transmission of power is possible. Like we get that.
Yeah.
You know, we get a lot of the things that he was talking about now.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a lot of mystery left.
Yeah. So that's what I was looking for. They're fake, but they're not stupid. So they know they have all this technician, right? And the possibilities of free energy, that solves that solves everything in the world. It solves everything.
Well, I mean, we're close to it. We're close to it now with fusion.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
Even though if they ever let that go, but they don't.
What, fusion?
Yeah.
I don't know that they have a choice.
Well, we'll see.
Too many people in too many different places are making too many breakthroughs, right? Like China, Europe, California, like it's popping up all over the place. I think fusion is kind of only a matter of time now, right? Before we have commercial, and that in and of itself is just gonna be banana nuts, dude.
That would be amazing if they ever let that go, but. These people are evil. They're satanic. They're narcissistic. They're all Freemasons. They think we're cows. They think we're freaking cattle, that we're the uninitiated. We're all breeders and feeders. And they want us to keep paying $80 a gallon for freaking whatever it is that we put in our cars.
For gas.
Yeah, so.
Right?
They're evil people. I mean,
I think it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to hold all this stuff back. Right, forever, right? Like, fusion is a problem that we've kind of solved, and AI is a thing now that is getting just better and better and better every day.
Yeah,
and like just the idea, right? Like, think about this: you can go to ChatGPT and ask it to help you build a code, a program to help you code a program, like from start to finish.
Yeah,
right. Like, and if you've got even beginning software engineering chops, right? You can make apps now, right, with AI. And like people are making videos that break your brain. And the world's changing, man. It's going to be an interesting next decade.
I think it's going to be an interesting 6 months, to be honest. I do feel like, man, I got.
I don't disagree with that either.
Yeah, I can't help but feel, bro, as we wrap this up, man, I can't help but feel that we're in the death throes of something. Like I'm not gonna.
The old world.
Something, man. Like I cannot help but get that feeling.
It's an extinction burst.
Yeah, the way that things are trending on social media. When they ban pharmaceutical commercials, CNN and all that stuff is gonna die, because 75% of all the advertising on Fox News and CNN is pharmaceutical commercials, and so. No one trusts them unless they're 70 years old. Old people are the only ones that think that Piers Morgan's telling the truth. Nobody believes that crap anymore. The most people know that you're all liars, right? And most people know that. But you and I have been in enough situations to know that the thing is the most dangerous right as it's about to die, right? So I don't know. I don't know. False flags are real.
Oh, dude, it's going to be chaos for the next couple of years.
And so
but it has to be. It has to be.
There's
too many things. There's too many things boiling all at the same time. Right?
And you know, today when I was driving home in the rain, I thought to myself, because my mind does this sometimes, if I was going to hold the United States of America hostage, how would I do it? How would I do it? Right? I was bored. I had an hour drive. It was raining.
My brain goes in weird places too.
And you know how I would do it? I would put a nuke inside of Yosemite's volcano. And I would say, you do what I want, or boom, boom. And that is
even the rumor thereof, right?
Is what?
Like pretend. Just the rumor. Just pretend. Be like.
Yeah. I mean.
I put a bomb in the fault line.
Yeah. And that's a world killer. I mean, like, people don't realize that if that volcano erupts, man, it's over for the planet, man.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Neil Stevenson, one of my favorite authors,
Mhm.
wrote a book, Snow Crash, right?
Mhm.
And I haven't read it in a long time. And I need to pick it up and read it again. But one of the antagonists, right? Like the evil guy, the
Mhm.
bad guy, right? Used to drive around on a motorcycle with a nuke in the sidecar.
Right. Just to have it
That was
ready.
on like a dead. It
Yeah.
was like on a dead man switch,
Yeah.
right? So if you knife this guy,
Yeah.
you set off a nuke.
So
I can't remember. I got to read it again because that was a really good book, and I can't remember what happened to that guy. But yeah, he had it like a. Can you imagine riding around with a
yeah,
sidecar?
nah. So, but that's the thing, man. So I feel that something's about to change, man. I think that everything we're seeing is scripted, and if they're exposing situations where that shatter people's narratives, where you think this country was our friend, but they're really not. These people we thought had this much. This country had this much power, but they really don't. These people, and I'm just thinking like, why is that like, why is that all of a sudden everywhere, right? Like everywhere, like.
Like I said, because it's so. Here you go. You want to know why?
Sure.
Because there are 6 or 7 technologies that are on the cusp of
Yeah.
of mainstream that are all literal world changing, complete paradigm shifting technologies.
Yeah.
Fusion being one of them.
Yeah.
Right. AI being another. Right.
And
quantum computing being a third.
Well, I got the fourth one for you, real quick, man. That I said to myself, the reason why they won't let this out, or they've been fighting so hard, is because when people realized they were holding this back, they would beat them to death with shovels, and that is the ability to. I want to say this correctly because I just skimmed it today. I didn't read the whole thing. Is to harmonize your body to regrow a limb or repair a spinal cord. Supposedly, we can do that with some type of frequency not resignation. What do you call it, Jay? What it's called?
Resonant frequency.
Yeah, exactly. Some way that you can stimulate the body. How to
regrow limbs.
Regrow limbs, right?
Like an axolotl.
Yeah. And so
you just grow it back like a lizard.
Yeah. And so
there's some genetic manipulation there, right? Like some stem cell and some genetic manipulation and some like you were saying, like some resonant frequency stuff to keep you from forming scars and everything like that. Absolutely, where it just kind of keeps regenerating instead of stopping, right?
Yeah. So I thought to myself, that's you just killed.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah. You just killed 7 multi-billion-dollar industries. With everything you just said, right?
Just
energy,
that one thing,
right?
Well, and then you think about like, okay, so the energy is going to be free, and then you've got AI and quantum.
Yeah.
The minute that you mix these 3 things together, just those 3 things,
it's
like a quantum computer that has an AI on it that's powered by a fusion reactor.
That's it. That's it. Or free energy. That's it, man. That's it.
Right?
Yeah, it's over. So, anyways,
we're facing like this weird exponential increase.
Yeah,
and when you're coming up at something like that, it looks like you're driving into a wall.
Yep.
But you don't know how close the wall is. So everybody's getting real panicky because everybody kind of feels it in the background, like this kind of cultural phase change, right? Like when you boil water, right? There's bubbles everywhere and it's chaotic and it, but eventually.
Well, we're headed there. So anyways, Jay, let me hear you say it. Nikola Tesla's the greatest physicist you ever heard in your life. And
one of the greatest engineers of our time.
And the rest of them are trash, like I've been saying.
Sure.
I'm almost undefeated, Jay. Before we go here, Jay, who's been telling you who's been telling you those pyramids were power plants, Jay?
No, and that is valid right there, because
I did. It was me.
I mean, it very well could have been.
I took the hits full. I took the hits, fam. I took it. The laugh, the ridicule, the laughing. I took it.
Yeah.
Only to be found I was right. So anyways, nerds, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment down there if you have any questions about who Nikola Tesla is, or if we've left out any of his coolest inventions or whatever. I'm a huge admirer of Nikola Tesla. I would have actually liked to. He's on like the third person on my list to meet if I could ever go back in time and meet somebody. He's number 3.
Yeah, he didn't drink though, so you might have to just sit down and have a root beer.
No, we'll talk about I'll just sit with him and talk about the birds, man. Just the pigeons, man.
Yeah,
That's a looker right there. It's all sitting, man. That's how we get down there. I would embrace it. Embrace it. Go give Jay a follow on Instagram. He'll have his link in the description of the video. And you know how we do around here. That's all you get for $1, nerds.
For $1.
We're out.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.